Okay, so this is now the second tornado warning that we've had here today. The first one only lasted about 10 to 15 minutes because the couplet kind of lost its rotation as it moved from Tazewell County into Bland County. This one, again, located close to Ronceverte. To give you an idea, this is about, what, maybe 5 to 7 miles away from the border with Virginia, right, Marshall, or so?
Yeah, getting pretty close at this point.
It's getting close.
Yeah.
But right now, it's mainly in southern Greenbrier County. And what you're looking for here on the storm relative velocity map are these greens very close to reds. Okay, when these greens are very close to reds, if not butting up against them, that's an indicator of rotation in the cell. Okay, so what we're seeing here is some moderate rotation in the cell as it gets closer to the Commonwealth from West Virginia. All right, let's expand the picture just a little bit, if you don't mind, Marshall. Let's turn on the reflectivity, the radar here, and we'll be able to show you that again as we put a little bit of a track on this. This is moving what, east at about 35? That's what they've been doing today. For
30 miles per hour so far with this particular warning.
So let's put a track on this and show our friends at home when this is actually going to make it into the Commonwealth. And again, it's moving east at 30 miles per hour, still in West Virginia, but getting closer and closer indeed to us here in the Commonwealth. Should arrive in the Commonwealth near Crows within about the next 6 to 10 minutes, okay? Jordan Mines by closer to the top of the hour. So again, we are looking at this likely pushing to the east and eventually getting into areas perhaps just south of Covington and just south of Clifton Forge in Alleghany County. But you need to know again that for now, the cell is kind of right along the Greenbrier and Monroe County line in West Virginia, about roughly 5 to maybe 7 miles away from the border with the Commonwealth. Marshall?
And right now, with that reflectivity, it hasn't been exactly as impressive as some of the rainfall that we've seen earlier on. Once we were looking at those storms that were further towards the southwest, we were seeing lots of intense red, some purple showing up, which rainfall is a pretty good indicator of how these storms are forming. But with this one, a lot of the rains are staying in the yellow range up towards orange and a little bit of red as you get dead center into the middle of that storm. But with that reflectivity, or with the velocity rather, that we were looking at earlier on, that matching up of greens and reds with the wind speeds towards and away from the radar site are the real indicator of rotation there. You can have even some light rains at times, but if the winds are really, really intensely going against one another, that's the criteria that we've got for the tornado warning in and of itself. As this keeps on moving towards the east, it looks like it'll stay at that 30 mile per hour rate, and that is going to bring the extra rainfall further towards the east. There's not even that much lightning associated with this particular round of storms either. Some of the ones that we've been seeing coming through with the main line a little bit further towards the south have just been constant flashes of lightning, but I could see one within the warning itself in the last few minutes and one just a little bit towards the north as well. Now, Covington is staying outside of the warning right this minute with some heavier rainfall and lightning to the south, but the winds aren't looking quite as intense there. And zooming out, we still have some severe thunderstorm warnings generally to the south. A lot of the activity that we've been tracking has been further towards the south, but that's not spawning tornado warnings right now either. That line extends from a little bit south of Roanoke, just towards the west of 220, so around Floyd, all the way down towards Hillsville, towards the North Carolina border. That's the one that we've been more intently looking at for today. And then further towards the east, still some severe thunderstorms making their way through Pittsylvania and Halifax County. That's why this one is you want to take particular note of right now, because we've got this tornado warning where we haven't seen as much activity. Still want to go ahead and do everything you can to stay safe right this minute. Looking at the, oh, go ahead, Jeff.
No, Marshall, I'm glad what you said something very smart here, because the cell is still in West Virginia. It's getting closer and closer to the Commonwealth, but right now that cell is still in West Virginia. So we can't ignore the fact that we've got some really nasty thunderstorms really extending from Benton Mountain all the way south towards Carroll County into Hillsville. And we've got more nasty thunderstorms really extending from Martinsville over towards South Boston, including Danville. I'll tell you, the NRV and the south side locations have seen about the worst of the weather that we've seen today. And again, to have this tornado warning further north where the instability has not been, frankly, quite as high as it has been further south today is just a little bit of a surprise. You know, these cells right here have a lot more instability to work with than the cells a little bit further up to the north. But let's go back up north into that tornado warning. Again, it is still in West Virginia. Excuse me. This is White Sulphur Springs right about there. So White Sulphur Springs appears to be potentially right on the cusp of this warning, but it looks to me like, if you actually look at the actual cell itself, White Sulphur Springs is going to stay just to the north of the actual tornado warning cell. For the most part, the tornado warning cell is more on the southern part of this red box. Now, one of the things that we do need to remind you about here anytime a tornado warning is issued is where to go. Obviously, if you have your basement, go to it. That's the best place to be. But if you don't have a basement, get into the interior section of your home on the lowest floor. That's why we oftentimes say, if you have a closet, go into that closet. Generally speaking, if you don't have a basement, a closet is the second best place to be because it's generally centered in the central part of your home. Or again, a basement if you got it. And I put a bathroom as like the third best place to be. One reason I think a bathroom is just underneath a closet is, generally speaking, our bathrooms have windows and you want to kind of avoid being anywhere near windows. But the worst place to be, no doubt, are in cars, mobile homes, or under overpasses. What we're looking at here, this is a picture of our Martinsville New College Institute Skycam. And this is a picture of Radford from our storm chaser. Paul is out there right now, one of our photographers, taking a live picture of what it looks like in Radford. So again, tornado safe spots, get into the interior section of your home or into a basement. The worst place you can be is, frankly, driving in your car. Let's go back, if you don't mind, Marshall. Let's actually show the reflectivity again with this tornado warning cell.
Absolutely.
And let's see exactly where the highest amount of spin is right now with the cell. Again, most of it has been in, whoa, look at that, Mark. Go down south real quick. Look at that. Huh. That will need to be watched. Right.
Impressive, definitely forming right along that line. It is close to the radar, which does throw a little bit of intrigue into it, but with all the lightning and the variables we have between green and red there with the different directions of wind, definitely something to pay attention to as the evening goes along.
Well, if nothing else, Marshall, when you see these vivid colors showing up in either green or red, in this case it's red, you know that that cell is having some really strong winds, regardless if there's rotation or not. All right, let's go back up into that tornado warning. I'm sorry, Marshall. I saw that bright color.
No, you're right, totally right.
We need to investigate this a little bit.
I like to point out, still robust enough that it makes sense that we've got our tornado warning there, but a little bit less of a difference in less bright colors than what we had in the last 10, 15 minutes.
Absolutely. Marshall, if you don't mind, let's turn on the reflectivity again. And this right here is the line with the Commonwealth. So, we've been watching this cell, and we have viewers, lots of viewers in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. So that's why we went on with this. Greenbrier County, we are the NBC affiliate for portions of Greenbrier County, so we wanted to make sure we got on the air and protected you folks in Greenbrier County. That cell, though, is getting closer and closer to, if not right over now, the border with the Commonwealth. So again, this cell that is capable of producing a tornado. Everything that we have seen so far with this tornado warning cell is it's radar indicated, meaning there is no proof of anything on the ground. We have had no observer say that there's a tornado on the ground. The National Weather Service has not said observed with the actual tornado itself. They're saying right now it's all radar indicated, but that cell is right now getting closer and closer to, if not right over, the border with the Commonwealth of Virginia. Marshall?
And we were looking at the rainfall totals across a lot of the region earlier on. To also look at storm height is a good indicator. And normally, when we've got a system like this, a lot of times a storm will be particularly tall. We'll start to see yellows and oranges showing up, but that's another reason that it's not always based on that. With this particular tornado warning, our echo tops, which are a way of the radar determining how tall these storms are actually staying fairly low in the greens right now. Meanwhile, there's yellows as you get further towards the east, showing some of those higher storms coming through. The ones that we were looking at in Kentucky earlier in the day had those yellows and oranges that were standing a little bit taller. Again, the rainfall is consistent, but on the heavy side, not the very heavy side that we've seen with some of the systems coming down further towards the south. Not much lightning to go along with it. So if you were just listening or watching outside your window, you might not necessarily notice that there's the tornado forming. That's why it's really important when these warnings to go out to go ahead and get into your safe place and stay there all the way through until the weather service has expired. And before that, even if it might not seem like it, you can still have those really intense winds building up, and they can creep up when it's as rainy and getting dark like this point in the day. So taking those precautions right now is the best thing you can do for it. Again, we still have that heavy rain further towards the south, but that hasn't been issued as anything but a severe thunderstorm warning in the last stretch of time.
One thing, Marshall, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, I'm glad you went further south. Do you see that this line right here appears to be almost bowing out a little bit? Do you see that almost bowing out right here in Franklin County? Rocky Mount is right here. That's where Rocky Mount is. And so if you're watching us in Rocky Mount, you're about to be hammered by a really, really strong thunderstorm. Winds probably over 55, if not 60 miles per hour. A whole lot of thunder, a whole lot of lightning. Again, this is starting to bow out just a little bit. And of course, it's called a bow because it's like a bow and arrow. It's kind of shaped like a backward C almost. Even if, again, it's not tornadic and we have no reason to think it is, there's no tornado warning in association with this, it could certainly produce potentially some straight line wind damage in and around Rocky Mount. It will arrive in Rocky Mount here within the next 1 to 3 minutes or so. So if you're watching us in Rocky Mount, again, just know that you're about to be hit with a really, really nasty thunderstorm.
Especially with that storm moving at the speed that it is, going right now at 60 miles per hour with wind gusts up towards 55. So this storm track that we've stretched out goes to show in the next 30 minutes, these are the towns that it's going to get to, extending all the way towards Smith Mountain Lake, Ajax, Callens, as you get into that later part. That's why right now, if you are in Rocky Mount, we want to definitely make sure you're inside, staying safe right this minute, because that rainfall is more intense, even though where we've got the tornado warning further towards the north, a lot more lightning strikes to go along with it. So this whole line has got plenty of severe weather to go along with it. The straight line winds can be as damaging as tornado winds, so you want to go and take precautions anytime these severe thunderstorm warnings get issued. If you're on the road, try to get off as soon as you can and stay safe indoors. That's definitely the best place to be. Further towards the east, the more intense rainfall moving through Pittsylvania, Halifax County, it's still there too, with plenty of lightning to go around. And our tornado warning is not has just been canceled. As soon as I was looking at it, has just been canceled for Alleghany and Greenbrier, as well as Monroe counties in West Virginia. So that one's starting to ease off now, even though we still have a lot of intense rainfall further towards the south. And
it's important to note that we don't think that the tornado warning cell ever made it into the Commonwealth. It was more into southern parts of Greenbrier County. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue to keep a very close eye on the radar here at your local weather authority. We're going to not only keep an eye on the storm that you're looking at right now in the Highlands, but we're also going to keep a very close eye on the storms a little bit further down to the south. Again, Franklin County right now being hit really hard with that strong to severe thunderstorm. We're going to keep an eye on the radar. Hopefully we won't have to break in anymore, but we will if we have to. If the National Weather Service does issue another tornado warning, your safety is paramount. That's why we break into programming, to keep you safe. For now, though, we'll return you back to regularly scheduled programming.